Hello and welcome everyone. Good morning, DDD. Welcome to the 8th International Conference. We are very excited to have you here, and welcome to the 8th International Conference on Drylands, Deserts, and Desertification, the DDD. This year, DDD will host over 800 representatives from 50 countries in over 50 sessions, bringing together scientists, stakeholders, policymakers, and those who are curious and wish to learn more. So let's give a big round of applause to our most distinguished guest, which is all of you, the conference participants. Thank you very much for coming and attending. I would like to thank President of Ben-Gurion University, Professor Daniel Chamovitz, the head of Blaustein Institute for Desert Research, Professor Noam Weisbrod, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Kenya to Israel, Mr. Samuel Thuita, First Secretary of the Italian Embassy, Ludovica Laviani, First Secretary of the Tanzanian Embassy, Mona Mehache, First Secretary of the Argentinian Embassy, Nicolas Guana, and First Secretary of the Ethiopian Embassy, Reta Alemu Nega. The UNCCD lead scientist, Dr. Baron Or, KKL JNF Chief Forester, Dr. Gilad Ostrovosky, and representatives of the global network of dryland institutes that came from 5 different continents. Thank you all. We would like to thank our sponsors, first and foremost, for Americans for BGU. And we need to give them a clap because really with this, it wasn't... Also to KKL JNF, the Italian Embassy, the School of Sustainability and Climate Change at BGU, WaterGen, and the Moshe Mirilashvili Center for Food Security in Drylands. Our theme this year is learning from the drylands towards ecosystem restoration. Drylands are 47% of terrestrial land. This I learned yesterday. Until now, I always said 40% in the last 15 years. Dr. Baron Or said it increased to 47 and expected to increase to 70 or 75%. So we are 47% of terrestrial land and can serve as an important resource of information about life in a changing environment. Drylands are perfect laboratories for developing tools and strategies for sustainable and prosperous existence in areas threatened by desertification, which are 90% of terrestrial land. Last and not least, I must thank all the people that helped organize the DDD, especially to Esther Gleber, Dorit Corinne, Dorit's great team, Ilana Saler, Eli Asa, and Kochi Abo Aaron. Thank you all. I hope you will enjoy the talks, the activities, the mingling, and our amazing scenery. I wish us all a successful and fruitful meeting. Don't forget to schedule in your calendars our next meeting in November 24. Let's go, DDD. So I would like to call our first speaker, which is Professor Daniel Chamovitz, the president of Ben-Gurion University.
Thank you, Shimon, for mentioning all the names, and I won't go over them because I will forget somebody. First of all, I'd like to congratulate our guests from Morocco who are here on an incredible football game last night. I think we can all... And the fact that I'm saying that is something we also have to appreciate, that we're of this great collaboration that we now have with the UM6P. Thank you for being here, and it's going to be going on for many more years. And for our guests from Argentina, you can breathe, okay? So, 1958, David Ben-Gurion calls for the founding of the Negev Research Institute, which then became Ben-Gurion University of the Negev and the Blaustein Institutes for Desert Research, as 2 different institutes that came together. And in 1958, Ben-Gurion says the following: scientists and researchers will sit in the gates of the Negev, uncover its secrets, how to make energy from the sun, water from the air, food from the sands, to take advantage of resources that are until now going to waste for the good of our country and for the good of the world. 1958, okay? In Beersheba at the time, there were about 40,000 inhabitants and 60,000 camels. And in Sde Boker, there was a kibbutz with less than 100 people. Who could have imagined then this meeting? But when he talked about it, scientists and researchers sitting in the gates of the Negev, he talked about you. He talked about the people who have dedicated their life to studying our desert because it was a national priority. I don't know if he realized then what an international prerogative it would be to do this research. I'm so happy, I'm actually quite angry at my office staff that forgets that at my base, I'm a scientist who studies plants, who studied food security, and that I actually had intended to be here all day. But instead, they made me a meeting at 11 o'clock, they made me a meeting at 2 o'clock, they made me a meeting at 4 o'clock. So I won't be able to be here for the entire meeting. But what we are doing here in Sde Boker is really essential for the future of our country. It's essential for the future of our region and essential for the future of the world. As you said, from 40% to 47% desertification. And this is where we have to take the lead. And it's only going to be all of us working together. It's not water. It's not agriculture. It's not solar energy. It's not public health. It's all of them together. We can no longer live in silos. And the strength of this conference is the understanding that these silos no longer exist. And that by bringing everyone together, we can do the truly remarkable. We're changing our perspective on how we look at desertification and how we look at building our future. I thank you all for taking part in this. It's truly, truly critical that we succeed in our mission. I look forward to being back here in 2 years. Hopefully I will make my schedule so that I can stay here for the entire time. And I wish you a wonderful day. Thanks very much.
So thank you very much, Danny. I would like to invite Professor Noam Weisbrod, the head of the Blauschen Institute for Desert Research.
I like to stand in the corner. So first of all, I hate to speak right after Danny because he's much better speaker than I am, but I will do my best. It is truly an enormous pleasure for me to say a few words in this welcome session of the 8th International Dryland Desert and Desertification Conference. We usually call it DDD in short. This year, the general theme of the DDD is learning from the drylands, and I'm quite sure that by the end of the week, we will all agree that there is a lot to learn from drylands and from what all of us are doing in drylands. So this is very important. Personally, I've been involved in the DDD, I think from the first conference, I'm not sure, as a lecturer, as a member of the steering committee for several conferences, organizer of session, of field trips, and in the last 2 DDDs, as the director of the Blaustein Institute for Desert Research of the Ben-Gurion University of the Negev that hosts this very important conference from its very inception in 2008. I really think it's extremely important and interesting event. I'm not objective, but I really think so. The previous conference in 2020 was the first and hopefully the last one that was took place online. So it's really especially great to host again here in our wonderful Sde Boker campus, just a couple of 100 meters away from the grave of Paula and David Ben-Gurion from the south, and about 2 kilometers from their hut north of us. This conference in the heart of the Israeli Negev desert. In person, I think there are a lot of advantages to see you all here. We are living in times that global changes highlight the extreme sensitivity and importance of dry land for a lot of things, including water availability, food security, renewable energy, and reduction in biodiversity. There are a lot of studies that demonstrate that dry lands are extremely sensitive for these changes. They are influenced more than any other part of the world. And I think that the fact that population growth that we're all talking about is happening mostly in drylands. And desertification is defined as one of the most problematic environmental issues that directly impact more than 150 countries, according to a recent UN report. And it is having an impact also in more and more humid areas. These facts demonstrate the enormous importance of what we are doing here. The topics that we are addressing in this conference, as Shimon mentioned, we've learned yesterday that the part of drylands in the overall terrestrial area of the Earth is increasing fast. We were told it's already 47 and going up, and it's not a big surprise considering the desertification processes and the population growth. So I think it's just, and it's, by the way, the home of more than 2 billion people. So it's really a major issue. These numbers, I think, demonstrate that sustainable development of dry land everywhere, in all continents and almost all countries, is a press concern. It's not a luxury. And it's a press concern for the future of humanity. I think it's also clearly show that the lessons that we can learn from dry land, as the theme of this conference, is an extremely important lesson for the entire world, not only for dry land. And we at the Blaustein Institute for Desert Research of the university really proud to be a hub for so many people. As Shimon mentioned, 50 countries, almost all continents, that are working hard on research and development to implement solutions and technologies to make the desert bloom, to fight desertification, to minimize climate change impacts in general and in dryland in particular, and to improve our adaptation to the global changes that we're facing. Shimon mentioned a lot of people, and I'm not going to repeat the names, but I do want to mention just a few, and I apologize for the rest, that we're working really hard and involved in this conference. First, Professor Dani Chamovitz, our president, that in addition of being the president is also internationally recognized expert in food security, so you really understand what we're doing here, not only as a president. And I think he appreciated it. Shimon did outstanding job. It's a lot of work to organize this conference, and he did really a great work. Together with his team and the steering committee and the organizers of the sessions and field trips, a lot of people work hard in this conference. UNCCD became a good friend of this conference from the beginning, and we always have the scientists and the leaders of the UNCCD, and we work together. When we team up, I think it's extremely important, and we want to thank them. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Shimon already mentioned American for BGU, that without them we could not make this happen. The outstanding, dedicated technical and administrative staff of this campus that worked really hard, including this weekend. I've seen them here Friday and Saturday to make sure that everything is working. And of course, like Shimon, I really want to thank you all from all over the world for coming here and being with us. I'm certain that this will be a very engaging conference with many compelling presentations and discussions. I'm sure it will lead to new collaborations and partnerships. And like any other DDD before, I'm sure it will be an exciting combination of top-notch science and a lot of fun, because we also want this. So have a great conference, and thank you again for being with us.
Thank you, Noam. I would like to invite His Excellency, the Ambassador Samuel Thuita, Ambassador from Kenya to Israel.
Good morning. Boker Tov, Jambo, all the three languages together. Asante. Professor Shimon and Professor the President, distinguished speakers, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, as a son of Africa, a son of East Africa, a son of the Horn of Africa, and a son of Kenya, there is much I can start and say here today. But because of time, allow me to speak more on my beloved country, Kenya. The President has told us about a dream of a great person we all admire that happened in 1958, before I and most of us were born. I'll also tell you a story about someone who in 1974 visited this great country, Israel. This lady, our heroine, had a passion and a dream of turning Kenya, Africa, into a grain rad, reclaiming desertification. But back home, and before her visit to this country, I wrote many were those who were discouraging her and telling her that this is not possible. She was a beneficiary of the Mashab programs, a wonderful collaboration we've had with the Israeli government through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And she visited a kibbutz for that training, and then visited Israel. To her amazement, she saw for the first time trees growing on rocks and with drips for irrigation. And her spirit of making sure that her passion and dream is assured was ignited. She went back home and she started the Grain Belt movement. I'm talking to you about Professor Wangari Maathai, now late. Professor Wangari Maathai really suffered for her cause in our country. Many are those of us who never believed in her. Many are those who were against her program because of selfish interests, but she didn't give up. Professor Wangari Maathai Rate, through this program, planted over 30 million trees across Africa. Professor Wangari Maathai turned many of us into having passion on environmental conservation. She passed on in 2011, but in 2012, her daughter was right here, I believe in one of the institutions here, being honored for what the mother had done. Professor Wangari Maathai, the first African woman to win a Nobel Peace Prize for environment, or rather the first Nobel Prize, said very important things to us. One of them was that you cannot grow economically without conserving your environment. She also said that when you see the animals die, know you are next. And here she was not just talking about Kenyans, she was talking about us as human beings. I want to start here and say that animals are dying. For example, in Kenya alone, this year, we lost 2.5 million of our livestock, a loss of 1.5 billion to the farmers who are the owners of this livestock. And I'm talking about dollars. In Kenya, we have seen community conflicts. In the region, we have seen conflicts. Oh, am I interfering in that? Yeah, sure. Remove that. In the region, we have seen an increase of environmental-related conflicts. And this is about to increase if we do not follow the words of our late Professor Wangari Maathai. I'm very happy that we have this conference today and many others that have happened. But the most important thing is not our talk, and thank you, our scientists, because you have all this information. More important is what are we going to do after this conference? The Kenyan story, out of the encouragement that we were all given by Wangari Maathai, during the conference in 2012, it was reported that the Kenyan forest cover was at 2%. 10 years later, we are at 12.8% forest cover, and we aim at achieving 30% in the next 10 years by investing $30 billion US in millions of hectares to recover and have forest cover. Again, I want to come back to Israel and thank them, because the Israeli government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Mashab programs, and many institutes, including this one, have come to our aid and help us train young scientists, train many students in sciences, be it the advanced agriculture methods, and I can see a lot of young Kenyans seated here from that institute, be it the soil scientists, plant scientists that are in various universities, but thank you very much. All of us, we are with you and expect to achieve the dreams of this conference. Toda raba, asante sana, God bless you.
So thank you very much. So I'm just telling you, we're like 20 minutes late, but we have 3 more greetings. So Dr. Michael Merashvili could not have come, but he sent the representative of Watergen, Mr. Shimon Dolberg, will give us something. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I am familiar to stay in the corner. I feel at home. Dear colleagues, distinguished participants, on behalf of Dr. Merashvili, let me express our regret that was not possible for him to honor with his presence for this important conference. During our deep cooperation with the university, we will continue to support your programs for the mutual benefit of both companies, Watergen and Vertical Field as well. we do believe that the next years of the mankind era could be seriously affected by the climate change, and our goal is to supply drinking water for the population and to reduce as well the use of plastic bottles on the market. The food as a part of the basic necessities is affected drastically by the climate change. And our vertical field is going to supply green leaves, mushrooms, and tomatoes produced by our in-house technology, so-called vertical indoor farms. Let me express our appreciation for the efforts of Professor Rachmilevich to lead and conduct the researchers and his commitment to continue our bilateral relations. On behalf of Mr. Mirishvili. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I would like also to invite Dr. Gilad Ostrovosky, the Chief Forester of KKL JNF.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Gilad Ostrovosky, the Chief Forester of GNF, the Israeli Forest Service. I have a very intimate relationship with the desert, especially with the Negev. My grandfather came as a pioneer in the early 50s. He came to Be'er Sheva, jumped on a tractor, and went to open the road to Sdom on the shore of the Dead Sea Yam HaMelech, and then stayed on for decades. And I came as a young child to visit him every 2 weeks. Beyond that, and since then, I admire the desert, the drylands, and I wish to be more and more in the desert. While thinking about the deserts and drylands, they always have been frontiers to human beings, to their existence. And we always looked for ways to establish, to create, to supply water, to bring life to desert. And then the tractor of my grandfather, he went on and opened this road. Amos Keinan, a very famous Israeli writer, wrote once that we actually can create a desert anything we want, to even change the desert to another ecosystem. But he said, we have to be very careful. And he said that if we would ask the desert what he would like to be, he would obviously said to be a desert. And I think this is our challenge today. And going into forest management, I think forestry, afforestation, forest management has a lot to offer in dealing with the challenges of climate change. And of course, all sorts of ecological services that we know now that the open spaces and forests can bring to life. I would mention just a few of them that Kakal JNF is actually doing in all fields of life. Firstly, for long years, Kakal is actually supporting centers for research and development in agriculture along the Negev and other places in Israel. Kakal is also managing 4 long-term ecological research stations in arid and semi-arid climates, from northern Negev to the Arava Valley. And our main work is actually managing and creating forests. Actually, our main focus is now seeing the afforestation as a restoration active. Because each planting schemes that we're actually planning, we see that a major role of it is restoration and rehabilitation. And in this way, we're actually supporting and upgrading ecosystems, and also supporting other activities, mainly agriculture. So a lot of what we are doing is actually conserving soil and water, supporting other activities, and of course, managing the forest to various ecological system services that we provide, mainly shade, recreation, leisure, green belts around communities and towns. So it's our main field of works. So I would like to go with Amos Keinan words from one hand to our mission as foresters and to combine them and to see how we actually find the right way to establish forests, to manage them, to be part of the community and their needs, and to actually be part of the ways that we do not let the forest go northern, but in the same time appreciate the uniqueness of the desert. And this is our goal. I would like to thank our partners, especially Ben-Gurion University, and I'm sure that we have a very informative agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the meantime, we will have Mr. Ibrahim Thiaw, the head of the UNCCD, left video greetings. I just would like to say, the speaker today was had COVID, and so we we changed between the keynote of Thursday and Monday, and we were very, very happy that Professor Dorit Nitzan was able and was very friendly to come and give the talk instead of Thursday and today, and so the keynote will be after this, and it will be Drylands, Food Systems, and Resilience. This is in page 19 in your notebook, just to let you know this is our keynote. So just the greetings from Mr. Ibrahim Thiaw. So I'm not very good at this, apparently.
President of Ben-Gurion University of Negev. Dear participants to the 8th conference on drylands, deserts, and desertification. Greetings from Bonn, Germany. The conference theme, global efforts towards ecosystem restoration, is both timely and highly relevant. Consider first the sheer magnitude of the problem. $44 trillion, roughly half of the world's economic output, is being put at risk by the ongoing degradation. When land is degraded or plagued by land degradation or drought, it is not only losing its capacity to sustain life or sequester carbon, it also contributes to water scarcity, habitat loss, crop failure, migration, and conflicts. Consider the next opportunity presented by the solution. The economic returns of restoring land and reducing degradation, greenhouse gas emissions, and biodiversity loss are as much as $100 trillion every year. This is as much as 1.5 times of global GDP in 2021. Land is an integrator and an accelerator. Land-based natural capital brings together financial, social, and human capital, which is why land restoration can create millions of green jobs and other economic opportunities for a growing and youthful population. The restoration economy can reach well beyond the agriculture, forestry, or conservation sectors to encompass new business models and emerging technologies. Please allow me to illustrate the potential that comes with a fully integrated set of land-based activities and actions with the example of the Great Green Wall for the Sahara and the Sahel. This African-led initiative is transforming people's lives by giving them sustainable livelihoods opportunities through restoring degraded lands. But this can only happen if we link conservation, sustainable use, and restoration to the establishment of sustainable value chains. And that requires innovation. To encourage this, last month, we launched a new collaboration between the UNCCD, the countries of the Great Green Wall, and the Desert Tech community from the Negev region in Israel. In this project, we bring together innovators, entrepreneurs, corporate entities, investors, policymakers, and non-governmental organizations from the 11 countries of the Great Green Wall with the Desert Tech community in the Negev region. Together, they will work to come up with an innovative solution, new technologies, and new business models that can potentially create new green jobs while contributing to the sustainable dryland management. The Desert Tech community has been leading those efforts already in the Negev region, creating a community of stakeholders with a focus on collaborative innovation. We are pleased to see that extended to the countries of the Great Green Wall. And we hope the pipeline is being fed by the scientific discovery like that being presented this week, so that this work can be extended beyond Israel and the Great Green Wall. In conclusion, I would like once again to thank Professor Chamovitz and the Ben-Gurion University of the Negev for organizing this meaningful scientific conference for the 8th time, for placing restoration at the top of the agenda. I wish you a successful conference.
So I'd like to invite Professor Dorit Nitzan. We're really, really happy to have her, and so friendly, and yeah. So thank you very much. I think
I think it's working.
It's working? Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much. And so I'm Dorit, and I'm the replacement. The real one is not here, so yeah. So I'm really, really, really sorry, but I already see people I know here. First and foremost, I would like to thank Professor Chamovitz, Professor Weisbrod, Professor Achmelevich, Professor Davidovich, and so many of you here that are here with us today. And thank you really for putting me on the spot here, because it's going to be a real challenge. So I would like to actually teach you 2 words in Hebrew that both stem from the same root. You know, in Hebrew, we have roots, so words start from these roots. And the root is shever. Shever, which can be broken, but also is, in the Bible, it's food. And mashber is crisis. And I would like us to really see the connection between shever and mashber, food and crisis. This is from biblical times, and that just shows that the mutual relations between both of them, the mutual relations are that food insecurity causes crisis, and crisis causes food insecurity. So, food systems, this is the new kind of old term that we are using today when we speak about food, diet, nutrition, and health. And this actually encompasses everything together from A to Z. It includes what we grow, how we do it, how we move it from place to place, how we eat it, and what impact it does on us. And we also try to emphasize and make sure that the environmental component of the food system is sustainable. Yes, sustainability is part of the food system. If we do not do it in the right way, we will not have the distribution capacities, and we see what happens. Shifting consumption to sustainable diets, therefore this, we really have to address the climate change. We cannot address the food systems without climate change. And for those of us who want to know more about food security, and I, again, thanks to Professor Chamovitz, with whom I was privileged to work for in the past, the food insecurity is something that has different aspects, and it has to do with food availability, accessibility, adequacy, utilization, etc. all those components must be included there in order to ensure stability. And stability is part of sustainability. Just a second. So access of all people at all times to sufficient food in terms of quality, quantity, and diversity for active health and livelihood, these are the key of food security. And food security is part of the food system, but it also has part on the health side of things. So public health, food systems are all included here. And when we look at the animals of humans, animals and the planet, the health of animals, humans, and the planet, we see that there are bad things happening under our nose as we speak. First, it's the climate change, then COVID-19 that already disrupted the systems, the war in Ukraine. All of them have triggered the recognition of this unprecedented deterioration of food and nutrition security and the health of million people. People today are suffering in many parts of the world because of 1, 2, or 3 of those crises. These are the bad drivers that drive us. And then the supposedly good drivers, the achievements that brought us to today, the achievements that are also making us, the good people connected, being able to do things that are beyond our capacities in the past. These actually achievements are making us more vulnerable. Globalization, industrialization, urbanization, biodiversity loss, desertification, and population growth. All these are the bad guys. And in fact, we know today that we are all connected. We have one planet which is full of conflicts, pandemics, and climate change. We are threatening people. We are telling them so many bad news. But it's time that we focus on the main drivers and really focus on that. And I really like the sentence that Professor Chamovitz said, silos no longer exist, because working in silos is the key of some of those good things that turned into bad. Drylands and food systems are working in reciprocatory ways. Food systems management is a key determinant of climate change, and climate change is a key determinant of food insecurity. And it is prime time for all of us to sit together at the same table, to have the same meal, to really work together across silos, across sectors, and to have the food systems as a leading role in mitigating and doing the right things to control it. And when we look at the food systems, we can see that the dry land can be regarded, I don't know why it looks so weird there, but can be regarded as a petri dish. The health and welfare of domestic animals affects our security, lives, and livelihood. And sometimes we speak about the food chain. We have the death chain, and the death chains goes from the agriculture, including the animals, and then humans. Many times when we work in countries that are food insecure or under emergencies, we see that the animals, the plants, and then the animals, and then the humans tend to die. So we have kind of death chain that moves it. Land today is taken by industrialization, and the urban expansion leaves us to really have very minimized agriculture. And we spoke about deforestation and the need to do it. But from public health point of view, what we see today in the world with the food insecurity, the desert, we see spillover of emerging pathogens. These pathogens are moving from animals to plants, from plants to animals and to humans. But we are all connected, and if we will not work together, we will see that food and nutrition insecurity are moving forward. So few facts. Diseases and malnutrition are spreading, even though we live now in a world that has enough food for us all. But this is because of poverty, inequities, lack of food security. Globally, agriculture and livestock production utilizes, as we heard, 40% of the arable land, using fresh water and really contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. Yes, it is the fact. Increased food prices, increased food quality also make us sicker. And drylands themselves have limited the growth of our food items, and we see the impact on human webs. We have food chain, but we have also food webs. Food webs, it's what people or any animal species eats, and humans are able to eat a lot. This is the web. And in some places, we see already that the food web is being really minimized. It's getting smaller and smaller because people do not have access to the web that provides them the nutrients they need. Omission of animal nutrient dense from food in our menus has good side, but also in some parts of the world, that's the place where people get iron, zinc, and other things. So we have to think better how to move into a future. Rising CO2 concentration impact the protein and the micronutrient contexts of staple food. And this results in zinc and protein deficiencies. The number are increasing. Foodborne diseases are becoming more prevalent, enhanced by reduced access to clean water. And from medicine, from the health side, we see that dry lands also bring specific zoonotic diseases and specific diseases to the planet. There are vector-borne diseases, rodents, locusts, viruses, bacteria, and more. I won't list the long list of diseases, but we must get prepared. And that's where my interest comes in, because I'm coming from the emergency preparedness and response side of things. And in my opinion, and people like me, we believe that the emergency is here and now. And where will we be? We are now here, but where will we be tomorrow? We don't know, because without immediate actions, the coming generations will have limited access to water, good food, good and safe food. And we will see more and more populations with micronutrients deficiencies, less people that can afford it, but less people that can find the source of food. And of course, SDG 2 is our compass, ending hunger. But we are getting further away if we want to do many things. Community engagement is key. It's key. We learned from COVID. We learn it from many, many other pandemics. If we do not get community engaged into this cycle, we will be left alone at the end, threatening, coming with policing that is kind of police or paternalistic is not going to help. Here, research, academia, and understanding how to work in different disciplines with the communities would help us to understand how to break the malnutrition infectious cycle. And no disaster is natural. I know we call natural disasters, but in my opinion, no disaster is natural. Humanity has the power to prevent, prepare for, get ready to, and respond adequately. Some of the issues we can do not much. We cannot prevent, but we have to be prepared and we have to be ready. But this is a question of policy. This is a question of norms, what society decides. For that, we need to get the community engaged. All emergencies can be prevented and managed well, but the drying land scenario, this is something that we cannot do a lot if we don't do it right now and together. We have to add it to the hazard list. If you know, the World Health Organization has a list of hazards, and the dry land is not there. The dry land should be there in order for us to really make the breakthrough. First thing, we have a rule in medicine, primum non nocere. First, do no harm. And that is why we really need the academic kind of vision here, because breakthroughs and understanding have to look at the whole system, at the social, health, ecological system, and has to look in what we call the One Health food system and the way of approach that we are looking at things. There is no silences, and if we touch one and just cure one or prevent or get prepared to one, we will harm the others, the other arms. So we really have to learn from dryland's history and to include it in the emergency management. The emergency management cycle is prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. We already have to have a plan in order to understand and learn. As I said, there is a delicate dance. It's a delicate balance. Everything is, if we touch one, we destroy the other. For that, we have to work together, One Health and food systems, with research, development, and actions that are carried out using the non-silos approach. Because if you use the silos approach, we disbalance the systems. As we all know, we are as strong as the weakest link in our society and the planet. This is the time to look at each of our communities, who are the vulnerable, who needs support now, and focus on them. Environment, animal and plants, and humans are one health. We are all connected, and the food system is part of it, with diseases and outbreak, etc. And here, coming after so many years in WHO, and fortunately, like in the past 6 years I was in Copenhagen, I can tell you that I learned something from the Nordic culture, from the Vikings. And the Vikings, when they went to war, they had their own way to shield themselves. They used to stand like the planet, you know, they cover each and every one. It was a big kind of dome from shields. And when we look at these shields, we understand that that's the way to protect our planet. We cannot put the planet, we cannot just protect or shield one side or the other. This is something, nothing wrong with Switzerland, but it's kind of Swiss cheese approach. The Swiss cheese approach leaves these holes. And if you think that we take care of COVID only here because we are so good, we get rid of it, bad news to all. It doesn't work this way. All of us are together. All of us need to hold hands. And therefore, only when we do that, we will work. And we do have success stories. And I really miss Hans Rosling. Those of you know him, Dr. Rosling, with the book Factfulness, or he came and taught us a lot in WHO. And he explains many things that happened in the world. He passed away young, unfortunately. He said that since 1970, there has been fantastic progress in the world across religions, cultures, and continents. Almost all parents can now afford to send all their children to school and are sending their daughters as well as their sons. Now the girls have almost caught up. 90% of girls of primary school age attend school. For boys, the figure is 92%. There is almost no difference. And that was a work that was done together as one globe. And he also gave these beautiful graphs explaining us how many bad things, age 16 bad things, are decreasing now because of global joint work, slavery, expenditures, children dying, battle death. You know, you can go over it and see how smallpox was eradicated. This is the work that is done by the universe as one. He also shows that we can do and we can improve good things. We can, like new movies, for example, he thought it was nice and I liked it. Also, women's right to vote, science, literacy, protected nature, new music, harvest. He looks at different things, child cancer survival, girls in school, as I mentioned before, monitored species, electricity coverage, etc. These are good things that are getting better. So if we do work together, we can do it. We do have technology to the rescue. We call it to the rescue. We have the metaverse, we have the AI, big data, we have blockchains, we have so many things that if we use it in the right way and really speak to each other and connect different scientific approach to it, we will have tools to link the environment, agriculture, humans, all together to ensure that health, nutrition, etc. are improved. Because, in fact, we are all vulnerable. We don't see it. Some of us are more vulnerable and will end their life faster than the rest. But we are all living on the edge. We have to recognize it. We are on the edge. And only making the things that need to happen will change it. And here brings me to another book that I really like. It's The Ministry for the Future. I don't know if you read that, but that's a very interesting one. And Kim Stanley Robinson says there, it looked like the great heat wave would be like mass shootings in the United States, mourned by all, deplored by all, and then immediately forgotten or suppressed by the next one until they came in a daily drumbeat and became the new normal. This is scary because the Ministry for the Future is kind of an imaginary book. If you read it, it's an amazing book that really, if you look at it, it mirrors our lives and what we need to do. So global threats like DDD, like food insecurity, must be tailored to the local context when vulnerabilities to be acted upon very quickly and moving from responding to building resilience for all hazards, including those hazards. Just coming again from the emergency side and from WHO, I cannot avoid telling you about the weapon for mass salvation that there is. The weapon for mass salvation is called international health regulations. How many of you have heard of the IHR? Yeah. Please, before you retire, read it. It's very boring. When you want to sleep, read one paragraph. But this is the book of rules of the game that all countries, all state parties around the world agreed and signed, including Israel, of course, including Kenya, of course, all countries in the world, including the Holy See, and including Liechtenstein, which are not members of WHO, all signed and agreed. And this book of regulations tells us what we should do in order to prepare, get ready, and respond to emergencies. There are 8 capacities, core capacities, that each country and each region and each community should have in place. It is very detailed. The booklet itself is small, but it comes with huge library of tools. And one of the issues that we are now adding after COVID, we are transforming the IHR a bit. We are learning from indigenous people the history, from the successes and stories from the deserts, for example. Innovation and technology and investment in scientific approaches and research, as well as the fact that health system preparedness and readiness needs to be in place. There are also different aspects for potential hazards, and we are moving now the climate change into the list. Climate change should be there. We cannot only look at infectious zoonoses, food safety, chemical, radionuclear, environmental need to be added, and of course also technology, cyber technology, etc. So if we are looking at the global food road, and looking a bit from here, from the Mediterranean region, we see that Mediterranean countries, just like Israel, the food system is based on diverse natural resources. We are lucky, but for that, our policies and policymakers should support the agriculture, should support the healthy diet products that are here. Well grounded on agri-environment in tradition. We have long tradition in the desert. We have the Bedouins to learn from. We have other in the history of the Mediterranean regions, and we are working with all of them. Catered into long-standing Mediterranean food and nutrition clusters that are really important, and we learned some lessons. So again, learning from different experts, it's very important. Research and actions, coordinating and balancing, and working across disciplines without boundaries. These are the way to move forward when we speak about the food system. Here I found this because I thought that it really gives a nice picture of what food systems are. It's not, it's from Rural 21, but it really brings us into the notion that we have to work locally, support globally, and remember that something that I always say is that no man or woman is an island, but no country is a lonely planet. We are all together. We are not lonely planets. We cannot think of us as stars or the moon. We have to do something really specific. And here in Israel, we have the term tikkun olam, which is really fixing the world. And to fix the work, we have to work jointly and do something. And I think that BGU, with all of you here, can do something and develop all the tools and the toolboxes that are so needed to do good assessments, community engagement, policymakers, etc. You can see that all silos, all disciplines should come together. Just a little promotion for the new BGU4. BGU4 is a new initiative led by our president, and this, thank you. And here we are trying, we called it 4 because it's food systems, One Health and Resilience. And we are working with the different schools and different faculties here to advance innovation and entrepreneurship for addressing the different challenge that we just spoke about. And here, if you allow me, I would like to end the presentation with the words of Princess Rima bint Bandar El Saud, amazing woman. She was the first Saudi female ambassador. And she said, if you keep walking, they will have to follow you. So let's keep walking together and not leave anyone behind. I thank you very much.
So thank you very much. We have time for two questions if someone wants to comment or say something. Yes, Nadav. I'm sorry.
First of all, Dorit, it's so amazing to have you here with us. Dorit came from the WHO during the COVID pandemic. She helped us and helped the region. And what she discussed here in terms of working with our Palestinian neighbors, you helped us a lot. I want to add maybe another component to the competencies that I'm sure that you agree, but I think it's important to mention is the question of public health leadership, or leadership in general, because I think for too long we were in our silos, and to go out and to make this collaboration, you need leadership. Of course, not leadership of top-down, but leadership that is innovative in the way that you mentioned. And we opened at our School of Public Health a program on public health leadership, and I think
Okay, anyone else? So I would really want to thank Professor Dorit Nitzan, who was so, everything, and really, I didn't mention her great past in the WHO. So now, just a few messages. So please, if you didn't register for the tours, we have 8 different tours going on Wednesday. Register. Today during the noon, we have an open campus with tours at 1 o'clock. You are really welcome to come. And so now the next sessions will start at 11, and there will be people outside letting you know. So we have parallel 6 sessions in different places. Thank you very much, and enjoy.